Welcome to the Boomer's Guide to a Vibrant Life with Vickie Washburn. Vickie and her guests will share their journey of the golden years and how they're creating a vibrant life. Topics will include family, fun, life, love, travel, and everything Boomer. You too can have the best of your vibrant life now. We are broadcasting from Global Voice Radio every week, and now here's your host, Vickie Washburn.
Hello, everyone. This is the Boomer's Guide to a Vibrant Life, and this is Vickie Washburn, your host. And today I have a guest, my dear friend, Sandy Moriarty. And Sandy is an attorney and an author, and today we're going to talk about her book, My Logical Conclusion. Sandy has a heart for empowering people through sharing her logical conclusion and unique understanding of God's Word. She holds a Juris Doctor degree with the University of Tulsa and has been a licensed attorney for over 25 years. She's been writing in the legal profession for years and now has turned her expertise to creating a logical method for studying God's legal system and pointing people to Jesus. Sandy is also a co-contributing author to Live in Gratitude Daily, a 365-day inspired journal designed to promote a lifetime of gratitude. She enjoys leading women's Bible studies, volunteering for women's ministries, and relaxing with friends over lunch or coffee. Sandy and her husband, John, live in the Tulsa area and are the parents to 3 children. You can visit her blog at www.mylogicalconclusion.com. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you, Vickie. Thank you so much for having me. This is good.
Yes, it is. So tell me what inspired you to write this book?
What inspired me to write this book? Well, I have to say this was not a lifelong dream of mine to write a book. I never thought I would ever write a book, much less a Christian book. This was something that came about as a result of some idle time. Let me step back and say I did know that writing was something that I guess God had placed in my heart. I believe that God has placed when he knitted us together in our mother's womb. I do believe that God has gifted each of us with something that we are good at. I think that if we all sit back and think about it, there is something that that we, just like you, Vickie, you're so good at drawing people to you to share their stories, share their dreams and their wishes. You just have a way of doing that. You're very good at that. And I think each of us, maybe we didn't know it when we were younger, but I think we somehow know it now. And we kind of reach that point in our lives where we say, you know what, I can do this. I'm good at drawing, or I'm good at making jewelry or something. And so I found myself with some idle time, and I went and God said, I have some stuff for you to write. And I said, what? I can think of just a paragraph or two, God, rattling around in my brain. And once I sat at the computer, I began writing on a topic called My Plan. I didn't even have the words my plan, at the time. I was writing about what I was going through. Where the industry, my oil and gas industry had took a downturn. And I'm kind of a planner by nature. And this, of course, was not part of my plan. And so as I was writing, I would jot down a few notes about a different topic, and then a different topic and a different topic. So I was kind of journaling at the time. And it looked like muddled gibberish. But as the time went by, it began to look like topics, different topics. And then it began to turn into different chapters. And at that point, I realized this is a book. And I realized I'm writing a book. And so that is how that came about. I parlayed the writing skills into the writing that I had been doing in the legal profession. And I just parlayed that into a book, and it has changed my life. Definitely.
Well, I suspect that this book could change many people's lives. I personally love the way that you have approached it. As my friend, you know that I like things to be logical, and I like that. I mean, one of the things that you and I work on together, there's a start and then there's an end, and we follow the trail to get to the end conclusion and base our conclusions on as many facts as we can garner. And so to me, this really resonated because it is logical to me. And, our audience is the boomer generation, of which I am a part. And so many of us reach this age in life and kind of struggle with what has been called for years the midlife crisis. So my philosophy is that we turn crisis into creativity.
Definitely.
And I love the way that your book goes through each thing that I think so many of us, once we reach an older age and our kids are grown and, life throws us a few curveballs, it seems like, at this age. And a lot of people find themselves alone, children grown, jobs vanished, and really are wondering what their purpose is in life now.
Yeah.
Yes. How do they continue to be relevant and useful? And so I love the way you laid this out because, you start with my plan, and we all have our own plan, like you said. Mm-hmm. We all have a plan.
Yeah.
And then life throws us a curveball, and all of a sudden the plan vanishes, and we have no idea where to go from here.
I had to change my plan. Right. I had to change my plan. I had a big degree, and it doesn't matter what your degree is. When you're making zero is a zero, regardless of what your degree, what your skill set. It just doesn't matter. And when you're sending out resumes at a later age, it's hard, because if you're putting the year that you graduated, and that year was 20, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, and an employer is looking at your date of graduation versus somebody's graduation that was 5 or 10 years ago or 2 years ago, I think, the phone just wasn't ringing for me. And I did have a lot of experience, but they might just not be looking at that experience, because they're saying, why would I want to hire someone who is probably going to retire in 10 years when I can hire someone and train them and pay them a whole lot less. And so that was difficult. One thing, though, I do want to say is when I got this idea to move forward on this book, I began looking at my kids saying, I don't want this idea to sit in my head or sit in my computer, and my kids know that I have this, and my kids see that I didn't do it. I didn't want to get 10 years down the road, 5 years down the road, or to the end of my life, and my daughter say to me, why didn't you finish that, Mom? Why didn't I wanted to be the example of following the dream. I wanted to be the example so that when she has this idea, I want her to know, go for it. I want her to see that my mom did it when she was in her 50s. And if she can do it in her 50s, then certainly I can do something like this when I'm in my 20s. So I want to be the example, to know that it's not over for us. There is still life out there for us. There is life for us to live. And I could never have written this book when I was in my 20s. I didn't have the life experience. There is life for us because of our age, not despite our age. These are things that we can do because we have the experience. This just would not have been written. There was nothing for me to write when I was in my 20s or 30s. This was only able to happen because of everything that I've lived through, because of the experiences that I've had, because of the trials that I've had, was I able to write this particular book. We have goodness in us now. We have things to teach our children's generation, other generations. It is not time for us to be set out to pasture. These are called golden years for a reason, because we have golden information. We have golden opportunities to share with others. And it's things like this that I think other generations will learn to glean from us. Wow, she went through this. I can go through this. The miscarriages, for instance. I never thought that was going to happen to me. I thought I had done everything right. I had followed all the right procedures and eaten healthy and so forth. And so now when a generation might be going through pregnancies or so forth, maybe they will realize that they can read this and say, I can get through this. I can make it through this. My life is not over because this has happened to me. My life is not over because I lost a job in my 20s or 30s, or because my parent died when I was young. They can learn from this and hopefully realize that because we are of a certain age, we still have value, and we don't lose our value because we reach a certain age. We gain value. They need to realize that we need to realize that we have value at this age. We're not out to pasture yet, folks. This is our golden time, right, Vickie?
Yeah. And, even your mom, who inspires me, and I know that she's kind of had a rough go this last year, but up until then, she, in her 80s, was such a vibrant woman.
She was, yes, and is, yeah.
It is. And thankfully, she's coming back somewhat from the struggle that she's had over the last few months. And, and I'm inspired by women. I just was having a conversation a couple of days ago about Marlo Thomas, who is 80 years old. And, some of the stars out there, which, I'm inspired by their, their tenacity and their vibrancy and all of those. I'm not particularly, a starstruck person, but I'm always grateful to see women of age who are still showing up with grace.
Yes. And they're using their abilities to change the world, to make it a better place. Not just out there taking, but giving back. And I think maybe that's one thing that we learn as we reach a certain age, is that it's time to use what we've been given to make a difference for somebody else. I have learned, I have information, and I want to share this with somebody. I can help somebody else not go through the same trial that I've gone through. There's some, and maybe, and I think that's part of what I was learning as I was writing is, I don't want somebody else to go through what I went through without the benefit of some of the knowledge that I gained. And Marlo Thomas, what she's doing with the St. Jude's Foundation, she just keeps helping others, and she's used her, her celebrity lifestyle to help other people. And I think we're not celebrities. Most of us can use what we have learned, women helping women, I think is just a great philosophy. And instead of comparing ourselves and putting each other down, you see someone, a woman walking down the street who just looks great, has it all together. We need to say, she looks great, instead of, what do we say? Oh my gosh, what has she done to look like that? We need to turn it around and say, she looks great. I would love to know where she got that outfit, or what she does to look so good, but so often we compare ourselves and say, I could never look that good, or I'm horrible. But we need to reach down inside and say, I want to do better. We need to we need to get off the comparison merry-go-round, I think, as and at any age. But we just tend to do that as women. I don't know if men do that, but we need to stop comparing. We need to start building each other up, and always look to help each other and build each other up. Make every day, live in gratitude. When that's a book that we have always in the past year tried to put forward, is live in gratitude. Live a happy life, fulfilled life, not a life of regret or anger or frustration, but one to bring joy to each other. And for me, I have a new philosophy. Instead of looking to see how God can bless my plans, I'm trying to look to see how I can work in his plan. It's not my plan, it's his plan. And that's, in my first chapter, I was trying to work my plan, and I finally realized it's not about my plan, it's about his plan. And that's where I became a more fulfilled person. More fulfilled lifestyle is stop struggling and churning and working to try to reach the top, but look to reach his kingdom and find his purpose for my life.
And I think when we quit trying to work our plan,
yes,
and start just sitting in the flow
mm-hmm.
of God's plan, then the struggle goes away, and that just helps us to be happier.
Yes.
It helps us to be more fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
It removes fear. It gives us comfort. We know we're not alone, because we can feel the flow of the Spirit.
Yes.
As we move through his plan.
Right.
And we feel guided, not set apart.
Yes.
And I think that, once you reach my age and getting older, that many times people feel set apart.
Yeah.
They feel left out. Their children's lives are busy. Our lives were busy when we were younger and had
mm-hmm.
kids and soccer and basketball and football and ballet and Sunday school and all of those things, and full-time jobs. And so parents kind of get put on the back burner.
Mm-hmm.
Grandparents. And especially when they get to be older.
Mm-hmm.
I was a very young grandmother, so I never really felt that. Now my grandkids are even grown, and so I don't have the interaction that I had with
mm-hmm.
all of them at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very easy at this age to feel left out.
Mm-hmm. And devalued.
And devalued, exactly. Right. And even though you might feel that way from your own family, you have to accept and acknowledge that it probably is not their intent,
right,
for you to feel that way.
Right.
And that maybe God is guiding you to spread that knowledge and giving spirit that you might have to someone outside of your family. And, and that may be why you're kind of left in this, what can feel like a desert.
Right.
You know, you're left in the desert. And so maybe you should be looking to find other people in the desert.
Yeah.
And find that connection in other ways. I know this is a funny story. A lady who was our soccer manager, and she was older than a lot of us. She was a mother at a later age. And so she's a few years older than me. But when her son graduated from college and moved away to take his first job, and he was an only child, and she heard him make a comment about his mother, just sitting at home growing old, and it pissed her off. So she went out and joined every dance club she could find. And she literally went dancing every single night. And what this did for her was she met a ton of new friends. It gave her a physical activity that helped her to stay in shape, and brought her a great deal of joy and happiness. And through that experience, she has started a new business and become involved in a community that she just has a ball being a part of. And I think sometimes we have to have that kick in the pants.
Right.
And sometimes God uses other people to kick us in the pants.
Yes. And sometimes it's kind of that hard love, right? You know,
yeah.
It kind of hurts, but maybe that's kind of what we need.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I tell you though, one of my favorite chapters that kind of helped me, I guess, get back on track is it's called My Father, and I think it's chapter 2, and it helped me know kind of my who I am, and it doesn't matter what age. And I learned that my value is not wrapped up in what's happening in this world. It tells me that my Heavenly Father that God is my Heavenly Father, and I am a co-heir to the throne. And that's kind of a huge thing to know, is that whatever's happening in this world, I know that I can, my citizenship is in heaven even now, and I am a co-heir to the King of Kings. That's kind of a big statement. So when I get down about, what's happening with my job or what's happening, in the world, I just kind of focus on that and know that that's a real logical statement for me. It's very, well, and part of this book, the book is really all centered around my comparing scriptures to statutes, and that co-heir to the throne is kind of a very statutory. Heir is a legal term, and when I put it like that, it's very logical and legal to know that I can inherit everything from God, and it's just very tangible for me to know that there are biblical heavenly things that I am inheriting now, and that is very comforting to know that that's what I can cling to now, and that's what I can cling to in my future, to know that the hope is not in this world. It's not worldly. It is heavenly and eternal. Probably my favorite chapter is my chapter 2, called My Heavenly Father, where it speaks to just citizenship in heaven that we can have now. And so I don't have to worry about my plan not being fulfilled. It's God's plan. It's all about, pursuing happiness in Him, not in whether I have fulfilled this or fulfilled that or achieved, corporate, executive in the, an executive in the corporate world, or build so many hours at the law firm, or it just changes your whole perspective when you realize that you're living for kingdom purpose and not worldly purpose. And that's a lot of how I have changed my entire perspective as I've grown out of the hurry to reach the top, and just changed to sit back. And in that's a benefit of reaching this age, where we can sit back and relax a little bit, and I don't know, share our wisdom and drink more coffee. and
Yeah, slowing down a little bit.
Slow down.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is. It is supposed to be part of this age.
Yes.
It definitely is. And sometimes that's hard to do.
It is.
Sometimes you've been on the treadmill for so long,
Mm-hmm.
stepping off of it can feel almost like death.
Yeah.
I talked last week about, letting go of some of this stuff can just feel like dying, and that sometimes, you have to die to stuff. Even Christ calls us to die to certain things,
yes,
in order
lay
that
your
we
life
may
down.
live in other things. And I think that even applies sometimes to what we see as our purpose or our plan. When we let that die, a new plan will be revealed.
Yes.
As long as
Definitely.
we hang on to that, it's difficult to see the new plan, because we're still so focused on what we think it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
so, my favorite chapter in your book is my provider.
Oh, yes.
And you know my story, and that has been, a concern of mine, although it is one of the areas I think I have the most faith in, is that I know God has always provided for me, that God always will provide for me. And so when it looks dark and it looks like, I should be worried, because like you, I'm in the oil and gas industry, and we both know that it's very cyclical, and sometimes there can be downturns, and it seems to hit our area of the business much harder than a lot of other areas. And yet I just never seem to worry. I just believe with everything in me that He is my faithful provider.
Yes.
And that no matter what is going on, He will show me a way to take care of what I need to take care of. And He will drop jobs, projects, ideas, whatever, into my lap at just exactly the right moment.
Yes.
And I have seen that happen over and over and over again in my life. And especially in the last 4 years that I've been walking this path alone, without a spouse, not alone in that I know that He is always with me. And I know that, when I turn over all of my burdens to Him, my load is light.
Yes.
And so I can just enjoy being happy.
Yes.
I can just enjoy life, and I can be grateful for all the things that come my way, because I don't have to stress about the burdens.
Yes. He will supply all of our needs according to His riches and glory. Chapter 6. I love this one. It has really just changed the way that you can look at your finances, and look at the way you just don't have to struggle and fret. He will supply everything. It does call upon us to be obedient in our daily financial situation. But it's just very logical the way He lays it out for us. And I just love that. I just love the scriptures on on finances and provision that God provides. Everything in the Bible, it's all in there. It's just a wonderful chapter. The Bible lays it all out. Given it, and it shall be given to you, good measure, pressed down and shaken. So it calls for us to give, and that's just the greatest gift and blessing. Is it is just so much more blessed to give than to receive, and that is, I have just never experienced that as much as in my later years, where I have been able to give more, both of my time and financially. And I love the way when you give, it just to watch other people receive the gifts.
Right.
It has,
And
has
even
really been a joy in my life.
excuse me, even though some of our listeners might be on Social Security and limited incomes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people kind of, burr up when you start talking about giving financially. And I know that that's sometimes because they don't feel that they have the resources to be able to do that. But, even the littlest, I mean, the Bible talks about people that give even the smallest amounts. If it's great to them, and God receives it as if it's as great as the rich man.
Yes.
And so many of us, because our life has slowed down, because we have more available hours to give to causes, we can volunteer our time.
We can.
There are hundreds of things that we can do as life slows down for us that, like my friend, will keep us active. We'll meet new people, and we'll have a sense of purpose and fulfillment. And that can be helping teach a Sunday school class. It can be driving a bus. It can be teaching someone to read at the library. It can be helping with a women's ministry or a shelter, or even, at the pet sanctuaries.
Yeah.
There's just so many things.
Organizing canned foods or anything like that. But I just really want to emphasize that whatever measure you give, it will be given back to you. I've seen it time and time again, and that's not the reason you give. You give out of your heart. Don't give out of obligation. Give out of what you feel peace to give. And that's one thing I just want to really emphasize, that you should give because you feel led to give, not because you feel obligated to give. You really just pray. You should pray about it. And if God leads you to give something, then that's what you should give. I don't ever want to say that, you have to give until you have no money to eat on, nothing like that. But I do believe that my life has changed because of our obedience in that area. And I cannot even begin to tell you how other blessings have poured in because of my obedience in my tithe. And I mean, and like you said, blessings in ideas for this book, for one thing, ideas for just other types of
ministries,
opportunities and ministries.
Yes.
Have come in as a result of my obedience in that area. But I do want to share one other thing before our time is up. One of the chapters that seems to be, I seem to be getting more comments on than most, is chapter 9, and it is on forgiveness. And I have been getting notes and emails or Facebook posts about it says that we should forgive 70 times 7. And I just find that an amazing scripture. God forgives us every day. And we do things to people that we probably don't even know. And I talk a lot. And so I'm sure I say something that I unintentionally do to hurt someone. But I just wonder if there are things that in your past that you've done or someone has done to you that you just have a hard time forgiving. And because I'm learning this, that someone has come up to me and said, I have forgiven, because of what you've written, I have forgiven so-and-so. I just finally have let it go. I've prayed about it and I've let it go. And because something happened in my past, it was a hard thing to forgive. And because I didn't want to forgive, and I just kept it in. And so I challenge you to dig deep and see if you can find your way to finally, unpack that forgiveness bag or unforgiveness bag and let it go, because I think you will feel so much better. That bitterness can finally get out, because I've realized that bitterness was only hurting me. It wasn't hurting the person that caused the pain. At this age, we need to let forgiveness is just something that unforgiveness is something that if we don't get out of our heart, can just stay with us forever, cause bitterness, and really impact our ability to love, our ability to care for others, and just, I think, impact us in all aspects of our life. And I just encourage you to see what you can do to get unforgiveness out of your life.
And unforgiveness is one of those things that has been proven, that bitterness, not necessarily unforgiveness in and by itself, but that bitterness that comes from unforgiveness has been proven to actually cause and create many physical things. And so a lot of times we'll see that same bitterness manifest itself within our bodies.
Yeah.
And so not only can it affect our happiness emotionally and spiritually, but it can affect our physical well-being, which again affects our happiness.
Yes.
And can make us feel as if, again, we've been deserted and that we're in that desert. And so forgiveness is such an important thing. And it's another one of those things that we just need to lay the burden down.
Yes.
And let Christ take it. And then we're free.
Yes.
If the person that wronged us, that's on them. That's between them and their God.
Yes.
And once we let it go, we are free to live our life and be happy. And that's what we really want to achieve. And so I just want to thank you for being with me today. I love your book. And I just want to share with everyone again your website, your blog, which is, mylogicalconclusion.com.
Yes.
And do you have any book signings coming up?
I don't yet. I will post them on my Facebook page, which is Sandy Moriarty Author. And I will try to get one soon. It would be in the Tulsa area. And I don't have them scheduled yet, but I'm looking forward to getting that back up and running after, the new year and the holidays. We had some before the holidays, but it's time to get that moving again, definitely.
And people can find your book on Amazon.
Yes. Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and anywhere where where books are sold. Some stores do not actually have them in stock. You have to go ask for them, but Amazon has them, of course, in stock.
Yes.
So, if you live in the Tulsa area, then they are sold at Barbie Cookies, or which is a local shop that is a cookie shop, and I've just now gotten them into that store. And but the best place, probably, if you're not in the Tulsa, Oklahoma area, the best place would be at Amazon.
And I will be posting the link to Amazon at the bottom of the show details. So go out there, get you a copy of this beautiful book. Thank you, my friend.
So much. Thank you so much for having me.
Everyone go out and have a vibrant week. Thank you.
host of The Boomer's Guide to a Vibrant Life. Connect with Vickie at www.globalvoiceradio.com. Tune in next week for another edition of The Boomer's Guide to a Vibrant Life on Global Voice Radio, where your message and your voices are heard.